All right, so we just completed our serializers. We also earlier completed our models. So that's 2 out of the 4 main items we need to check off for our Django project to get up and running. The next is our views or our view handlers. This is how we get a request in from some some application. We take that request, we process it, we do whatever we need to do in our server, and then we send out a response back to that application. So that is what our view handlers are responsible for. So we're gonna, again, there's a lot of code to write for view handlers. We're gonna do one of them, one resource. In this case, we're gonna do products, because that's probably the most interesting resource that we have. There's also categories, genres, and reviews, but products are more interesting, I think. So we want to create the basic CRUD operations for what am I trying to say here? For products. So again, this is going to be a CRUD review. Hopefully you guys aren't tired of CRUDing. It can be tedious, but as kind of the core operation of an API is to provide different type of operations for resources. So let's get into writing some view handlers. So we go to views.py. And again, we've done this before, so hopefully most of it's a review, but hopefully it's also beneficial to go over it again, because this is what you're going to be doing for the challenges. So what you're going to be doing for your personal projects is going through all these motions together. So let's think about the 5 main CRUD operations. So the 5 main view operations. So there's list all. Can I even type list all? That's a read. In our CRUD, we also have create new. That is the create operation. Put these in caps, create, read. All right, so we need to list all. So it's getting like all the products and listing them out. That's a read operation, create new. We also have detail. That's a read operation where we detail one particular item. Then we have updates, which is a update operation. I guess these cap words aren't really updated, updates. And then we also have deletes. These are the 5 views we need to create. So we have our CRUDing, C, we have our reading. There's 2 different reads, list all and detail. We have our updating and delete. So 5 views we're gonna create. Let's get to that so we can get through this. Let's keep that up top. All right, so I want to create a list all method. So I'm going to do define product list all. So we call it product list. It's going to take in our request object. Again, remember, this is something that we have to take in for any view handler. The first parameter is going to be a request object. In this case, we have no additional parameters. And this is going to simply do, again, something very similar to what we've done before. So I need to import a few friends. I need to import my models. So from .models, import all the good stuff. And from serializers, I'm going to want access to the serializers that we just wrote. So I'm going to import those here. All right, so now, again, this will be very similar to what we've done before. I'm going to get all products, products.objects.all. Again, this is our query set. We're querying it, getting all products that exist in our database. But now the additional step is we want to use our serializer to package up that data into a transmittable format, i.e. JSON. So now I'm going to say serialized products is going to equal product serializer, nested serializer, dot serialize all. All right, so I'm creating an instance of a product nested serializer. I'm doing this all in one line. I could break it apart if that makes it more clear. Let's do it just this one time. Don't get spoiled with this. But let's just do it on a separate line. So we create an instance of the product serializer right here. And then we call that instance on the next line. So there's a method called serializer all. If you guys remember, it takes in a list of something, in this case of products, and it spits out the serialized data. And then we need to respond with a JSON response. Looks like I have not imported that, so sorry if you guys are having import issues. Hopefully you guys resolve them. So I need JSON, Django.http. I need to type Django correctly. All right, so from Django.http, again, I forgot this import on the coding files, but we need to import JSON response because we're going to be using it in this file. All right, so serialized products, or actually I might have to import. Anyway, we need to return a JSON response. So to do that, I'm going to return JSON response. And we need to pass it data, which is the serialized data. So serialized products. A status code, meaning just telling the requester how we did. 200 means A-OK. So that's our HTTP status code. And then there's this kind of weird parameter called safe. We need to set that equal to false because we're returning a list. I don't know the exact details of this. Just from reading documentation, I just know must set safe to false if returning a list. That makes me feel a little uneasy, like I'm setting something called safe to false, right? I'm like, what am I actually doing? It's not going to blow up. This just tells the JSON, like JSON format's going to be a little more stingy or less stingy with whatever we're setting. All right, so this is our list all method right here. We're reading data. We just do a query of all, get our serializer, package up the data, and send it out. That's all we're doing with our view handler. So again, we don't have to worry about HTML templates, rendering anything. Nope, we're just sending back some data in a JSON response object here. Any questions about this method that we just wrote? Jesse.
Yeah, so the .serialize all, that's the method that's in the product nested serializer, correct?
Yeah, let's do a quick split screen. I have serializers here. I feel like this goes poorly, but all right, so yes. So if we look at, we're using product nested serializer. Let's go find that buddy. Where's that buddy? Right here. This is product nested serializer. Notice it has no method called serialize all. There's no method of serialize all. We have category, products, and reviews, but there's no serialize all. So what's going on here? Well, remember, we're using inheritance. So in addition to all of these methods, we have access to every method that product serializer has in it. So let's take a look at product serializer, which is right above. This is product serializer. All right, we still don't have serialize all in here, but we have more inheritance through serializer base. So we go look in serializer base, which is at the very top, and that's where serialize all is coming from. Yep, so we're accessing like 2 levels down, but that's, again, inheritance automatically works. It finds the appropriate method to call and should work. So good question. Again, inheritance, great topic to know about. All right, so that's our read. That's pretty simple. I'm going to do the create one next. So products creates request. I'll do this by hand. It gets tedious, but probably good practice in CRUD. So the product creates. This is actually going to be a post request. I'm going to actually search here and do a try. Probably should do a try for all of these. Try to do that. If you get some error, well, let me add in. I have some helper methods I'm just going to drop in here. Hopefully you guys won't freak out over it. I have two error methods. One called error on request, which will return a JSON with an error, with a data value with an error value in it, status code 400, which means bad. Another function, again, these aren't too crazy, so you guys will hopefully be fine with them. I'm just going to reuse those here for exception. All right, just some basic error handling here. If we ever get to this point in our code or this point in our code, then something went terribly wrong. Why is this grayed out? I don't know. That's bothering me. But anyway, so we're going to do something similar here. So we're going to try, just make sure code safer in case any of the code inside of our try block blows up. All right, this is not working well.
Your exception's catching everything, so it'll never hit line 35. So you have a custom or inherited exception, or handle a bad request inside the exception.
Is that right?
Yeah, you'll never hit line 35 because it'll catch all exceptions on line 32.
Right, but if it goes through this
Custom
try block, it should get down here. There's something wrong with my syntax here. Sorry, let me try to.
In the code you provided, you had an if statement right under the try to say if it was a GET request.
Gotcha. That could be helpful too. Oh, I see. Okay, so I think John Winko is right. I think all code paths can return. So I guess we could be more explicit. We don't have to check for get. We can just assume, but let's just write that in here. All right, cool. Thanks for the help, guys. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna check if, so now we're doing a create. That's where the client is sending us some data. So that's gonna be done via a post request. So method, we wanna make sure it's a post. I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff. So let me just add this in here. Okay, so what do we want to do in our try block? If it's a post, we got to do a bunch of stuff. So this is the opposite of serialization. It's also known as deserialization, where we get data in JSON format. We want to convert it to our internal data types in Python. So why is this yelling at me? Sorry, these red squigglies make me very nervous. But hopefully, I don't know what's going on. All right. Yeah, it won't give me tooltips. So I'll figure it out. There's something wrong with my code here, but if my request.method is a post, well, we need to do some stuff here. So instead of doing what we did before, we use some post dictionary from the request object. We're gonna just load whatever's in the body of the request. So again, remember, a request is an HTTP request that has headers and also optionally a body, which can be used for a post request. So here, if I do something like, I need import JSON. All the stuff is, we don't need render. We do want to import JSON. All right, so we import the JSON module because we could use that to take our data and, or take our requests to json.load request. So this will look in the body of the request. It's going to take the JSON and convert it to our internal data. So that's what load does. Takes JSON, converts it to our data. The opposite of what we did with our serializers. Deserialize data. All right, so now that we have Python data right here, we can use that as we want to. So this is our second new concept that we're going to introduce. And this is going to be kind of a quick introduction. Not a proper introduction, but there's an idea of model forms in Django. Really, really great tool. Unfortunately, we did not cover it before, but they will make CRUDing definitely a little easier. But model forms allow us to kind of just specify what model the form should kind of mirror, and then the form will take care of a lot of the heavy lifting for us. So I guess, sorry, put a pin in that. That's going to come later. Sorry for going out of order. All right. So we have data. Now we want to do something with that data. So we want to create a new object. So let's say new products is going to be a product instance. And then there's two ways we could go about this. We could do new products and go through each field one by one. Equals data dot get. So this is one way we could do it. You know, we had like, you know, maybe half a dozen fields on our product. We go one by one and fill them in. That's getting a little tedious. Data is a dictionary of key value pairs. So if you want to imagine what this looks like, it's going to be, I don't know why I'm putting this in comments. So data is going to effectively look like a dictionary that's going to have title in it, some title. It's going to have description in it. It's gonna also have some IDs. So like we have category is gonna be represented as an ID. This will not be nested when it's incoming. So we have category, let's say that category is gonna be 1. I saw a hand raise. I don't know if it's because I had many typos, but was there a question?
I did. The way we did our JSON earlier, we can have a bunch of key values in here that aren't part of the class instance that we're creating too, right?
We could, yes. This is where we're going to rely on our front end to send us appropriate data. We're not validating it here. We could say, hey, do you have the fields that we need? Do you have no extra fields? You're right. This could definitely blow up at many different levels. We're going to assume that the front end is going to send us kosher data, or at least close enough to what we want. So this is what data is going to look like. Again, there's going to be more fields in here, so use your imagination for all the fields. But this is what data will look like once we load the JSON. Right, so now we have a dictionary. We have tricks that we've done before. If you remember, we have the spread operator or the double asterisk operator. I don't know what's called in Python. We can just do star data here to fill in all the fields. Instead of doing it one by one, it's going to take our dictionary. The star is going to break this into key value pairs. So we're going to have quargs, keyword arguments, where title will be set to some title, description will be set to some description, and so forth for every value in our dictionary. Now, if you guys are confused by that, I'm going to encourage you guys to go back to our past reviews where we talked about using quargs and using the double asterisk operator. I think that was in week 2. But yeah, this is just kind of a quick shortcut where we can take a dictionary, automatically create an instance by calling the class and passing in keyword arguments. Okay, so I'm not going to do it one by one. I'm going to do it the quick way. This was just example code. All right, so we have new products. Once we have a new product, we want to make sure we run a full clean on it because we don't know if the user sent us appropriate values. So full clean will check for that. Remember, if full clean detects an error, it's going to throw an exception. That's why we want to wrap this code block in a try catch. But assuming that full clean passes, we want to do new product.save. That's going to actually add it to our database. All right. Now, there is going to be a problem with this, and I guess we'll see the problem when it occurs. So there's a problem with this, just to let you know. This is not going to work exactly like we want. It's going to blow up in our faces, and we'll have egg on our faces, but that's fine. We'll see it in a bit. But that's what product create is going to be. Deserialize data, create an instance, check the instance, and then save it. It's the opposite of serialization. Any questions on the logic we've written right here? Maybe comments might help. Create new instance. Validate. Let's see. All right, that was our create. We have 3 more to go. Detail is pretty easy. Update is very similar to create, and delete is super simple. So we're going to kind of expedite this process. If you guys are fine with kind of putting this in a little high gear. So let's do product detail. Products detail is going to be another method. So you by define request. Going to have a very similar structure where we do a try. We're going to do an accept. We're going to return bad requests. All right, accepts, exception is E, looks the same. All right, so product detail, where we want to know one particular product. So in this case, we're going to pass product ID. So we need to know which product is being requested. And then we're going to go through a very similar motion of product list. So I'm just going to actually copy and paste that. All right, so we are expecting a get request, but instead of getting all products, we're just going to get one product based on the product ID. So here, I'm going to do a get ID equals products ID. And then that should be one product. So let's name our variables appropriately. Products. Again, try except protects us. If we get a bad ID, this will actually throw an exception, but we're going to kind of be saved by this except block. It's going to catch any exception that any of this code happens to throw. So, or raise, I guess, in Python speak. So we get one product object. What did I do up here? Oh, we create an instance. All right. Product nested serializer. Instead of calling serialize all, we just have one product to serialize. So I'm going to call product serializer.serialize that product. So that's a single product. Let's name this appropriately. In this case, we don't need to put safe equals false because we have a dictionary for one product. We get one dictionary back. So that's fine. And voila, that's our product detail. We get a product ID that's in the request, and then we return the serialized product back to the user, or the client that requested this request. Any questions there? Jin, question?
Yeah, where's that product underscore ID coming from?
Great question. So we,
Oh, okay. Oh, never mind, I'm sorry.
what was that?
I see it. I caught my error. Never
Okay,
mind.
gotcha. Yeah, so it's going to be input to us. Eventually, this is ultimately going to come from our URLs. So we haven't done our URLs yet, but the URLs will match the product ID in the URL and pass that to our view handler. So that's an input to this function, and then we will find the appropriate product. All right, so we're going to do update. I'm going to do that with a quick copy and paste if you guys are cool with it, because again, create and update are very, very similar. There's only one main difference, or maybe a couple main differences. So product update takes in a product ID. That is one key difference. That when we're creating a new product, obviously we don't need a product ID because it doesn't exist yet. When we have something that we want to update, it already exists, therefore it should have an ID. So we get the product ID passed in here. We need to find that product instead of creating a new product. This goes away. I want to say products is going to be, let's go find it. Products.objects.get ID equals product ID. All right, so they tell us the product ID. We find the product. They want to update it. So we need to update it by, what's the best way to update it? If we can do it one by one. So it's going to copy and paste from the code here. I think I have a typo in here too. So hopefully you guys can live with the typos. So don't have that extra parentheses. Is TV series, I renamed that to is original, I think. Just gotta keep up with all my changes. All right, so this is how we gotta do it manually, because again, we don't want to create a new product instance because that's gonna have a new ID. So in this case, we are just gonna extract the data one by one, kind of like the hard way, tedious way, where we get title, description, category, genre, image URL. All right, so we get all the updated data based on whatever the user submitted, and then we want to do a full clean still, and then we want to save the product. So again, very, very similar to creating, but instead we need to find the existing object instead of creating a new object, and then update the fields, sort of similar to what we did before. So that is product update. One last one, and it's super simple. So simple, I'm just going to do a quick copy and paste, and we'll be okay with it. Last one is delete. We want to delete a particular product. We get an ID. We are expecting a post, find the product, delete it, and give some helpful message back to the user like, hey, we deleted something, so go celebrate, do whatever you want. I saw a hand raised. Jen? Oh, Jesse?
I didn't get to more my hands.
Oh, okay. I would just had a question real quick. On the update, can we do the same thing that we did on the create and do the product asterisk data as well?
We
Or no?
can't, unfortunately, because what we did up here was very handy and helpful, but we're creating a new instance. So the init method for product takes in parameters. In this case, we're providing keyword parameters with data. We can't create a new product because that's going to create a new ID for our item down here. I'm trying to think if there is a way to do it. I'm kind of hesitating here. I can't think of a way we could use the asterisk operator here, unfortunately. So we got to do it one by one because again, we don't want to create a new object. So again, we can't use keyword arguments in this case, is the unfortunate part of it. One thing I want to point out here right here. Notice we're doing something slightly differently because this is our many-to-many relationship, M to M. So we need to call dot set instead of doing some equal operator. I'm going to kind of glaze over that just because we are running short on time, but understand we got to treat these a little differently. And there we have it. So looking at my line numbers, I've written roughly 120 lines of code. I'm sure there's a lot of white space in there, but that's a lot of code just for one resource. There's some things I left off here, so I'm just going to clean up my code to avoid errors later. We need to import and use CFRF exempts for our API, so I'm going to include that up here. If you remember, normally when we're processing forms, we need that CSRF token. This decorator will kind of omit that security clearance that we normally have in our Django. And because this is an API, we're not dealing with tokens right now, so we just want to avoid the hassle with them. So I need to add that decorator to any method that's going to take a post with some data. So I'm going to say CSRF exempts for my create method, because that's going to be a post. Edgar, you have a question?
Yes, so if you're changing the API from your front end, do you still need to put can you still put a CSRF exempt? Or in that case, would you need a CSRF token?
I'm not sure if I fully got the question, but my front end is not going to be sending a CSRF token. Therefore, I'm just going to say we're not going to expect one on this side. The front end could send a CSRF token, I believe. In that case, then we could be like, all right, cool. In this case, I just want to ignore that security check that Django normally does. So CSRF is a decorator. It's just going to not look for a CSRF token in the data that's coming in. All right, so I put that around product delete, product update, and product create, because these are the three methods that are going to expect a post. My read methods, the get methods, don't need that exemption because Django doesn't expect a token for them. Okay, so this was kind of a review in CRUDing. You guys did this for assessment 4. You guys done this a ton with other challenges. I know it gets tedious, but again, there's no way around it. We got to add, got to have some way to read and write to our data. All right, so that was our view handlers. All right, fair amount of code. Well, let's actually just get this up and running. We have 3 other resources, which are categories, genres, and reviews, but I don't want to take up too much more time. So these are our view handlers. They should be mostly good to go. I know I left one purposeful mistake in there. I think the rest of it should be good. Let's go to our last piece of the puzzle. So we go to our notes. We checked off models. Serializers got done. View handlers got done. Last thing, URLs. Luckily, this is the simplest step. So saving the easiest for last, I guess. We need 2 things. We need to go to our projects URLs and say, hey, how do we get to our app? So we do path. My base is going to be Netflix_API. It's my naming choice. I'm going to include Netflix app.urls, which we're going to create in a second. We need to include the include. And there we go. So that's our project URLs in our Netflix_proj URLs file. That's what we added, just another path to get to our app. So I'm going to copy that. Now we need to create a new file in Netflix app. It's going to be called urls.py. Again, we've done this before. This is going to be our new routing for our application. So I'm going to paste in what I had, modify my project URLs to satisfy what I want here. So in this case, we want to add some paths to what we just created. So I'm going to say products will be my base here. We need to import from .views. Just give me everything. So import star. All right, so we write some paths here. So we have the URL that's going to be matched. Then we have the view handler that's going to handle it. So products list was one of them. I'm going to avoid giving names because I don't care about them right now. All right, so product list, we have 4 other paths we want to specify. All right, so products. I guess we go to products new. That's going to change later, whatever. Create. We have int ID product ID. Remember, this is how Django will extract the product ID out of the URL. This will be a product detail. Then we have updates and deletes. Updates and deletes. And that's all we had to do. So again, much simpler to do URLs. Not much to it. Oops. All right, so we specify which view handler is going to handle the route requests. So we have 5 view handlers and 5 routes. Any questions on URLs that we set up? Okay, so this is where you guys might be. Oh, two hands raised. Don't want to miss questions. Andrew Tran.
I thought it had to be like views.product list and views.product create.
It depends how you use your import. So if my import were import views, then I need to do views dot for all of these. If I do import my entire views module and get everything from within there, the star will give me access to all the function names directly. It's just a little weird importing wise, but yeah, it's important. Again, you see it both ways. I think this is easier because I don't want to write views all the time, but up to you, I guess. There's another hand raised, Jesse. Oh,
His question was answered. It was mine.
Gotcha. Cool. Courtney.
I just wanted to clarify, if we had so much methods and views, would we just have multiple views.py, like different ones, and then all import them all to that URL?
Into views. So views.py must exist, but yeah, we create a new file called as product views or views products, just to keep the naming views products. Yeah, we create as many new files, but we need to import them into views.py. So here, if I created views underscore products, I need to import them here and still import views.py into urls.py.
Okay, and for something like this where the file would get very large, would we just separate just like that, views products and then views category views?
Yep. Yeah, that'd be a great way to organize the files. Yeah, again, these files definitely get long, so I think that'd be a good sensible organization. Good that you guys are thinking about that. All right, so we have our routes, and that's our end of our list, right? Where's our notes? We did models, serializers, views, and URLs. That's all we need for our API. So this is where I'm going to kind of expedite some things. I have some fixtures that I've created already, so I'm going to add those in here. So I'm going to create a fixtures file. Fixtures. So in my app folder, I'm adding a function folder called fixtures. Must be named this for Django's sake. Inside of that, I'm going to create a new file called let's call it data.json. And then again, I already have some fixtures are created just to save some time. So apologies if you are wanting to have some data, but you can add your own through the admin panel. Nothing's stopping you. All right, some data there. I need to load this data into my database. Hopefully this works, but there's a good chance I made a typo somewhere. So I'm going to do Python manage.py load data, data.json. I think that's the correct command. It is because I, gosh darn it, because I tried to run a migration file. I deleted it though. Sorry for the troubleshooting. So that description column or field that I added, I'm not sure why this is complaining of my data having it.
Actually, I was wondering this when you did it, after you got rid of that, you deleted that file, do you have to run migrations a second time after that or no? I don't think you did.
Let's try. Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah, sorry, this was not my intention, but creations. No, so that's what I don't want to do. Maybe I still kept in my models. Maybe that's my problem. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I did not want to have description here. Sorry guys for any headaches I'm causing. So I'm going to delete that migration that I created. I do not want description here just for my data. My seed data does not have it, so I don't want to waste time adding that in. All right, so let's try loading my data again. I added a fixtures folder. I added a bunch of JSON that represents my data. This is what, again, the built-in serializer for Django is going to take JSON and convert it to objects using their built-in serializer. So let's see if this works. Okay, cool. So 19 objects got added to my system. I go to my admin panel. Now magically I refresh. And of course that doesn't work because my server's not running. Magic on hold. Okay, now if I go back here and then go to categories, I have 3 categories created: specials, movies, and TV shows. That's how I'm going to bucket my products. Genres, I have a bunch of them. I have children's, thriller, animated, horror, drama, etc. So I could kind of add those to my products. And then I created some products already. I'm going to use this time to pitch some shows that I really love. I know you guys don't really care, but Dark, one of the best shows on Netflix. It's German, but it's really well done. Not that those are musically exclusive, sorry, but it is a foreign show. Great, really well done, great music, whatever. Dead to Me, a good quirky comedy. Extract is not on Netflix anymore, but it's like a random Jason Bateman movie. There's a new movie that came out called The Bubble. I just watched that this weekend. It's got some good actors in it, whatever. So those are my products. Go and look at the product details. So notice for The Bubble, the genre is comedy, but I could add as many genres as I want. It's a many to many. So, there's some action in it. So I could say maybe add some, have comedy. I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, I can multi-select in here was the idea. Yeah, so now I could, if I save this, it'd be comedy and action. So again, many to many. Category, these are the categories I could set it to: TV show, movie, or special. But The Bubble was a movie, so it's gonna be a movie. Description, whatever, year release, nothing too exciting going on here. Reviews, I have a couple reviews here. So let's see, 2 reviews on the show Dark. These are my honest thoughts on it. So that's my username. It's a really great show, well made, amazing music, and really unique. That is all true. So go watch the show if you have some time. Some other user, Grapefruit88, didn't leave a comment because comment's optional, but they said it was good, not amazing. That's fine, whatever. All right, so I have some data in here. The reason I wanted to use some seed data is so that now we can move on to our final step of today. So I think we're doing okay on time. I'm a little surprised that I didn't run out of time yet, but we have our API ready to go. We don't have a front end. We have not created a React front end. We're not going to spend time doing that today, but we still want to test our API. We want to make sure it works. So how can we test it? Many ways we go about doing this. The easiest way, or one of the easiest ways, is to use a nice application called Postman. So if I go to the curriculum page, we talk about all this. Scroll down here, we went through all of this together. Where is this? Where is this? All right, Postman. So we're gonna jump to the very bottom. We skipped over some refactoring, but we'll talk about that maybe at some other point. So testing with Postman, great application. You could download it. We have a link. Pretty easy to use. So we're not going to go through a walkthrough here, but essentially what Postman allows you to do is send HTTP requests to some endpoint, and then you'll get a response back, and you kind of investigate it, play around with it, and it's pretty easy to configure and work with. So down here, I have some of the requests we're going to send using Postman. So let me see if I have Postman running. I do not. So let's get Postman into the fray. Thought I had it. There it is. So that running. Bring it over here. So this is what Postman kind of looks like. Again, pretty simple interface. I know it's kind of intimidating to look at all this, but effectively I've created some requests already. So let's make this larger. All right, so I have a bunch of requests I created just ahead of time to save some time. But I have one request called product list all. And this is a GET request to a location. So I'm sending a request to my API that is running right now on my local machine. Local is 8,000. So my path to that is Netflix_API. That was my app base. And then the additional base I put in was products. So just remember how we set that up. URLs, right? My URLs here was Netflix API. And then my URLs in my app was products for all these products. Okay, so let's make this request. So it's a get request to this location. Let's see if this works. I'm gonna hit send, and then it's gonna send a request out to my API. API is gonna process it and hopefully send me back a valid response. If there's an error, I'll still see that response as an error in the HTTP response that's sent back. So hopefully I get a 200 code back, but maybe I'll get 400, who knows, we'll see. We hit send. All right, and there we go. This is all the JSON that got sent back to me. So notice the format of it, it's kind of hard to read right here, but again, we're returning every product that exists. So the first product I entered into my system was a show called Dark. So we have a description. Notice the nested category for Dark. So if I go to my admin panel quickly, I don't want to shift around too much, but let's go to Dark. So products, Dark. This is a TV show. It's a show about a small town with big storylines. I've determined or said that the genres for this is drama and thriller. So those are the two genres set up for that. So notice in the data that got returned, I have some detail about the the genres right here. I get 3 and 9 returned to me. Sorry, let me go back to my code quickly. I want to take a look at my views. So I did a get request right here. So this is the method that handled the request. We got a get, we got all products, nested serializer for products, and then serialize all, okay. For category was TV show. So notice that what the response has here, we have a nested category object right here. Where we have, in addition to the ID, we also know what the name of the category is, and also what other products are in that category. So notice that product 1, which is Dark, is listed in there. We also have some other product 2. We have the ID for that. Again, this is the flat serializer within my nested serializer. I know I'm probably throwing a lot of words out there. Again, I was serializing a product. So this is one product. It's kind of hard to get it all on one screen here, but everything I've highlighted here is just one product. I have an ID, title, description, category, and then nested category data. I have genres. I'm trying to figure out why I don't have nested genre data, so I'm gonna need to look that up. I have nested reviews. So every review that was written about the show, I have that all in one response, which is kind of cool. So this is what we did with our nested serializer, where I see, all right, Donut Lover 22 wrote, great show. Grapefruit 88 wrote, didn't provide a comment, whatever. Also notice I have average rating. That was an additional field I added in my serializer. So 4.5, that would make sense because one user rated this a 5, other was a 4. So that is a good computation, looks like. But yeah, that's the data that got returned. So now my front end application, like if we had a React app, would get this data and do whatever it wants to do with it. And we'll see that tomorrow, not today, of how we actually use this data. But that is using Postman. So I hit up one of my many endpoints I'm going to need to test. Any questions about this whole process? I know we're running short on time, but want to make sure we have questions answered. Okay, so that was one API request. Let's test out a couple other ones to see how Postman kind of makes this really easy. Let's go to product create. To do this, I want to make sure you change your request method to post. That is what we're expecting to send. The URL in this case is going to be Netflix API / I think we called it create. So make sure that that's correct. Courtney, you had a question, comment?
Sorry, I meant to ask you, this is called Postman, what we're using right now?
Yep, yeah, it's linked from our curriculum page. So
okay.
Towards the bottom, there should be testing endpoints with Postman. Click on Postman link. Super easy to install. You can download it, figure out which platform you have. Pretty straightforward to get up and running. If anyone has questions about it during the afternoon, we can definitely dive deeper into it. But yeah,
Okay,
you can find it on the web, free to download. Don't pay for it. You should not have to pay for it at all. So now we're making a post request to products / create. One important thing that gets me all the time, make sure you have an ending slash here. If you leave that slash off, Postman will sometimes complain, or Django will complain, something will complain. Have an ending slash. It'll save you a lot of headaches from doing this over and over again. All right, so we're sending a post request. Remember, post post messages can have a body element to it. In this case, we do want to send a body in terms of what data you want to use to create this new product rubric. So let's go to the body tab. In here, you want to go to raw. So if I was doing this from scratch, I go to body, raw, and then make sure you select JSON from the dropdown. Because there's different formats you could send in your body. So I'm going to send JSON, and then I'm going to send whatever data is required for this. This is not the right data. That is not the right data. Looks like I haven't updated this, but I guess it didn't save. That's what happened. We want to create a new show. So what fields are required? We need a title. So let's call this new show number 1. We want some description, image URL, don't care about genre. So what genres we want? I don't know what 1 and 2 are, but I'm just going to say 1 and 2. So notice when we're saving an object, you only send the IDs. You never send like a nested relationship for saving values. Your release, sure, we'll make that this year. I think is original was my idea here. Kind of upset that my this is not save category. What category is going to be? Let's say this is going to be a new show, so it's category 1. All right, so let's make sure we have all the required fields. Let's go back to models. So we need title, description, category, genre, image URL, year release, and is original. So that is 7. All right, so make sure I have 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, hopefully I have everything I need. I'm gonna let you know that this is probably gonna fail when I send it. And that's the error that I purposely left in. So let's hit send and see what happens. All right, so notice we got not what we expected. This is not the JSON we expected. If you go to the preview down here, it's gonna be that Django error message that we're familiar with. In this case, it said post. All right, I didn't find the URL, so that is because my slashes aren't aligned. I think I need a slash right there. Slash. I think that's the issue. That is not the issue I thought it would be, but ending slashes, they get annoying, but let's try that again. Hit send. All right, there we go. So notice we got an error message back, and that's because we were reporting the error back to the user. So it says cannot assign one product category, must be a category instance. So that is right here. That is not what I expect at all. So let's see. So we are in views. We are trying to use product nested serializer. So let's go take a look at product nested serializer, which is right here. So we're trying to store category. Sorry, this is not what we're doing. We are saving a new item. So we get the data. We set a new product. And then I see, okay. So this is the errors I kind of left in here. We need to convert the IDs to instances. In addition to that, we need to treat the many to many differently. So a lot to talk about there. We're hitting lunchtime, so let me try to wrap this up. So what we need to do here is find the category that we are talking about. So let's do I see. So we need to do category category.objects.get. So we received an ID, which is appropriate. We are sending an ID from this side right here, but Django wants that to be an object in its internal representation. So we need to do the work there. So here I'm going to do ID equals data.get category, which should be hopefully an integer. So we get the category ID and get the object from within Python, and then we update our data dictionary. So data at category is now going to equal category. So initially, again, this value right here, it's an int, because that's what got sent, right? We sent an int, But then we actually need to get the object because that's, again, since we're using the spread operator here, we need to get it to be an object in the data dictionary. So we need to update that data dictionary with the actual object. So this is still not going to work, but it'll give us a different error. So let's hit send. All right, this is what I expected. So we had another error. And this is because many-to-many relationships are definitely a little weird to work with in Django. You cannot save a many-to-many data without saving both sides of the many-to-many. Meaning, we're creating a new product. We can't create a many-to-many relationship with that product before that product exists in our database. We need to create that product and then add in the many-to-many connections. So again, this gets a little odd to do, but in this case, we need to take away the genre data because that is what the many-to-many is. So if you guys remember when we set that up, I think the curriculum page has what I want to do. So we need to get the genres out of here. So we'll do genres equal data.pop. Pop removes a record from your dictionary. So we're going to remove genres. Again, the reason is we cannot save an instance with genres in there because that is a many-to-many relationship. So we need to save the new product without genres. And then after we save that product, we can say, all right, well, new products, genres, let's add that in here. All right, so first create our object and then update the many-to-many. That's just the way how to do it. I know that's complicated. You're like, I'm really lost right now. That's okay, you'll get practice with this, with your challenges. Okay, so we get data. We take away genres because that's a many-to-many. We cannot save the many-to-many before saving the actual item. So we take that away from our data and then kind of sneak it back in later. All right, so I believe with all this in place, again, kind of messy, this should work now. So let's cross our fingers, hold our breath. Now that we have all of our backend code correct, let's hit send. Product says, okay, that's a typo. Genres right here. All right, let's try that again. Bad requests. That's not good. Try that again. All right, something's gone wrong here. I'm not returning here. That's the issue. Notice I'm going through, I actually created those new shows like twice or 3 times. I'm not returning anything here. So we need to return some response. In this case, want to serialize the data and send it back to the user is what the most appropriate expectation is. So here we did all of our saving, extracting of data, yada, yada. We finally saved it right here, updated the many-to-many. The last step of this process is to take that product that we just created, serialize it back up and send it back to the user saying, hey, this is what you just created, or this is what we just created for you. Take a look at it. So we want to return a JSON response. Let's change the name of this show because it's probably a new show 4 now. Hit send. There we go. So this is what our response is. Notice that there's no reviews yet because obviously no reviews can exist. Genres were set, the category was set, everything else was set appropriately. ID of this item is ID 8. So if we go to, let's do the last 3, and then I know there's some questions. So this is ID 8 of what we just created. Just to prove it, if I go to my admin panel, products, new show right here, got created. ID is not shown, but this is ID 8. So notice it's action and combi, the first 2 genres. Let's go to the detail view. So to get to the detail, I want to do Netflix_API products / the detail. So we created product 8. That's a GET request. Let's make sure that works. All right, that works. We got the response here. So we got, new show 4, description, category information, genre information, other information, yada, yada. Let's do the update case. Update's the same as a create, except the only difference is we do a post to the particular resource we want to update. So we want to post to Netflix API / products /8. That was what we just created. We want to update now. So we do a post. The body should look exactly like what our create body looked like. I'll make sure I save these because I lost them last time. So let's say we want to update the description. Right now, the description is some description. Let's do some updated description. All right, let's say we want to add some genres. Let's say make it genre 3 also and genre 8. Sure, I don't know what the genres are, but it's going to be some weird show. We can update the dates. Again, you guys get how updating works, so I won't bore you anymore. But let's try to send this. Again, this is a post request to a particular resource, in this case, /8. Let's hit send. Error is not good. Oh, that is my bad. So notice I forgot to add a CSRF exempt, and I got that forbidden error. That was accidental, but hey, accidents happen in life. So let's grab the exempts. And we wanted to, I have that, so that's bothering me now. Or routes, update. All right, I have no idea why this would not be working. Because it worked for my create case. That's real troublesome.
Just to verify, I can't remember. I know you said something about importing that at the top, but I don't remember seeing you do that.
Oh, is a decorator I imported. So CSRF exempt right here. Maybe I mistyped it. Is that something I could do? No, it's correct. All right, I definitely did not run into this before. Why would that be complaining? All right, sorry. I swear this worked before. I don't know why this is complaining. Let's try sending it one more time. Maybe.
What if you stop and start the server or something?
Yeah, I like that idea. Somebody's got to fix this. I like Max's suggestion. Okay, so let's try sending this. All right, hands up in the air. I'm honestly not sure why this throws me CSRF exempt or exception, but the create doesn't. So to figure that out. Hopefully, let's see if our delete works. So can I delete a product? I want to delete product 8 that exists right now. So go to products, new show 4 does exist. Let's see if delete works, or if I will throw my hands up in the air again. We have no body for the delete. So again, a delete message, we're just saying, hey, delete this. We don't need to send information to the server. So our body here is empty. There's nothing in our message body. All right. I am stumped as to why this is
on your URL. I think you need to have delete or update right at the end when you're doing the request, or no?
Let's take a look. Maybe. So calling product delete and updates. Oh, I know what the issue is. So sorry. Yeah, I think that's what was it Sukdev or whoever mentioned it. Yeah, I changed my routing, so I need to go product/update or 8/update. Thank you for pointing that out. So in this case, I don't want to delete first. I was going to the wrong routes. Go to /update. Thank you again. There we go. So notice we got the same issue. Cannot assign category. Let's fix that quickly. And we'll get you to lunch. Promise. How do we do that? We find the category, do this madness. All right, so we need to set an instance, not just an ID. So that cleans it up. Bad requests. Oh, I know why. I didn't return anything again. Or did I? Nope. So we need to return something from that message also. So let's try doing this again. And there we go. So notice we got updated. Our description now says some updated description. If we add, exclamation marks to our body here, we should see that processed. So it's in send. Cool. So if I look in my admin panel, new show 4, yep, notice that that's updated. So this is a comedy show. That's also an action show. There's also a drama and animated. So I don't know, BoJack Horseman, maybe. I don't know if that fits the bill there for those genres. So now let's actually delete it. So I go to my deletes. My new route was /deletes. Hit send. Bad requests. Man, I make the same mistake 3 times. That is shame on me. So Oh, I need a post. So post. All right, posts to this location. All right, notice I got the result. That's a custom message I'm sending back. Successfully deleted product. I go back to my admin panel. Yep, doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so that is an example of using Postman to test our endpoints. So we tested all of our product endpoints. We should test every endpoint that we set up. Now, we did kind of skip over a lot of stuff. Not a lot of stuff, but we created our product methods right here. We created, again, our 5 methods, which were list all, create new, detail, update, and delete. We did that for just products. We also need to do that for categories, for genres, and for reviews. Now, this gets tedious. If you follow the tutorial on the curriculum page, it's going to guide you to kind of making some refactoring changes ahead of time, so that instead of doing this, 4 times over, I will smartly create a generic version of this. And just to kind of put that on screen quickly, I know it's going to be a lot to take in, but I'm going to call this views helpers.py. I'm going to put all my generic code in this one file right here. So views _ helpers. Again, all of this is coming from the curriculum page, so prepare to be kind of overwhelmed initially. So I'm going to grab this. We'll quickly talk about it and then wrap up lecture. All right, so this is my refactored code. It's super generic, as in I could use it for any resource. So I have my same error handlers, that's nothing new there. Now I have some methods called get items, get item, save create item, where I combine the functionality between creating a new item and updating an item, because those are super similar with a few key differences. I also have a delete item. So again, all of these are just random items. The trick here is you pass in the class name that you actually want to deal with. So model type in this case would be product if I was using product, doing something with a product resource. Same thing for like my save create, takes in 3 generic items here. We take in the model, so like product, the form type, which we'll talk about in a second, and serializer type, for example, product serializer or product nested serializer, depending on which one you want to use. So take a look at the code. I'm not going to walk through it right now because probably you either want to get to lunch. The one thing I do want to point out is we kind of centralize our 5 operations into 2 methods instead of 5 methods. So this is something, and the curriculum page talks about this, so I know I'm kind of referencing the curriculum page a lot. The idea here is there are 2 main cases we have. We want to do something without an instance existing, which is listing all or creating new. We don't need an instance that exists. The other 3 items are we do need an instance that exists. That's where we need to update. We need to get detail on a particular item, update a particular item, or delete a particular item. Other changes that you might notice is we are using new method types. Notice we're not just using get and post anymore. There are other HTTP method types. There's put, there's delete, there's our good old friend post, get, we're familiar with those. But these are specific HTTP methods that can be sent to your server, and they'll tell your server to do different things based on the method. So we have one view that can get 3 methods. You get a get request, a put request, or a delete request. Based on the request type, we know we either want to get some item, save an item, or delete an item. All right, so really, really big refactor here. But based on this refactor, I'm able to do something much more condensed for our other resources. I'm probably losing you guys at this point because I know it's lunchtime and we have put a lot of code on screen, but just to end this up. So this is what my individual resource handlers now look like. Much simpler code. So for category, I have something called category list view and category detail view. If I go down to my products, this is what we had before, where we had 5 view handlers. Now I simply have product list view and product detail view, which calls my more generic views. They handle the rest of it. So now with this in mind, my routes can change also a little bit. I don't need to write as many routes. So for my URLs, instead of having all these paths where I need 5 paths per product, I only need 2. So I have only 2 view handlers per resource. So my views, my URLs will change to this, where we will have /categories and also post 2 categories when we want to create a new category. We also have category and the particular ID. This will handle retrieving one particular category, but also updating that category and also deleting that category if we send a GET request or a PUT request or a delete request to this very same URL. And that's true for all other resources. So genres, products, and reviews, same design where we have 2 view handlers, one that doesn't require a particular instance ID, the other does. So it depends on what action you need to do. So that's, again, our URLs are kind of compact, our views are pretty compact. So just kind of look, not much extra code here. We have some special functionality baked in here that I wanted to chat about, but not worth it at this point. Model form. This is the new game in town. We have not talked about it. We are not going to talk about it really at this point. This is just a handy, very handy Django class that will do a lot of the work for us. So the simple thing you need to know is there's a function called model form factory. This will create a model form for you based on whatever model you pass in and the fields of that model. __ all just means use every single field from that model. This will create a new class for you. So again, this is not an instance. This is actually a class that got created. And you could use this class to do your form logic for you. As in, when you get a form data from the front end, you can use your model form to kind of automatically parse it, validate it, and create an instance for you all on the fly. There's probably so much more we got to talk about for model form, but at this point, I need to wrap up this lecture. So we might have something in the afternoon or at Sandown to talk more about model form. But simple takeaway, you create a model form class, and then you could use it as you follow the logic in these methods below. Sorry, again, this was a long lecture, and I know there's still more to be had here. But with this refactor, our code is much more condensed, much more generic. So if I added a 5th new resource, I don't have to add as much code now that I've made this really generic. And that's about it. Kat, what question do you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, if you do go into like a breakout room this afternoon and like find yourself explaining more on model forms, would you mind like just writing in the Slack or something so people who want to know more about it can like just pop in to like make it so you don't have to go to everyone individually?
Yeah, let's actually do this. So again, a lot to cover here, and I don't want to neglect any of the key finer points that we maybe skipped over. So let's just say, let's do a breakout session at 2 p.m. I'm going to talk about model form a little bit more in detail. I'll talk about a little more about the refactor we did and a little more of the design decisions that I kind of neglected to mention with the refactor. So let's do 2 p.m. I'm just going to stop the recording, sorry.